Okay, this has the potential to upset a few people, so I'm going to tread lightly. I just want to make clear from the start that I don't actually have anything against HIIT training in and of itself. Perfectly valid form of training. We actually do some higher intensity classes as part of our strength offering as part of RIAK Online. But we don't do what I would consider HIIT training. So when I'm talking about HIIT training, I'm talking about largely circuits-based classes with lots of getting down and up and off the floor, very explosive, usually set to time. So you're having to do as many reps as you can in a specific time frame. And basically there's a huge cardiovascular component to it. So as I say, in and of itself, that's a perfectly valid form of strength training. And strength training, there's various different types. However, should HIIT training form a large part of an endurance athlete's strength and conditioning work? I would argue no. The reasons being, when we see people performing HIIT classes, generally speaking, as they start to fatigue, their form starts to fail. And really, that's not what you want as an endurance athlete, because your strength training should be all about building kind of good form, good posture, stability, and strength. So if you're performing exercises at too rapid a rate in order to hold your form properly, you're kind of missing an opportunity to really make any improvements there, and ones that are going to hopefully spill over into your triathlon training. So that's one reason. Secondly, if you're following a structured plan and you have intensity in your training program elsewhere with structured rides, so threshold or VO2 max focused cycling sessions, and then you've got speed work on the run, etc. If you've got a well-structured plan, arguably you don't really need more intensity layered upon that. And there is quite a significant, serious point to raise here, really. If you have too much intensity in your program, it can ravage your immune system and leave you susceptible to illness. Okay, we see it actually quite a lot. Not necessarily endurance athletes, but people that are perhaps training for weight loss goals. Way too much intensity in their program becomes unsustainable and potentially get ill as well. So that's an important thing. And the other thing with HIIT training is, because it has such a big cardiovascular component, you have to ask yourself as an endurance athlete, do you need that extra cardiovascular training when you're perhaps, you've got all that covered with your triathlon training? I would suggest not. I would suggest that your strength training would be better focused on building strength, on real inherent strength, hip stability, core control, rather than on strength endurance. So rather than kind of just being able to do the same exercise repeatedly and quickly, you want to really kind of build that inherent strength, which is going to really pay dividends when it comes towards the end of a difficult race. A lot of the time people flock to HIIT training because of its perceived weight loss goals. So weight loss, if you've got your nutrition sorted, then there's two other components really that you want to try and take control of. Firstly, building lean muscle mass. Secondly, building your cardiovascular fitness. Okay, so your cardiovascular fitness should hopefully be taken care of with your triathlon training, and basically that's going to encourage your body to use body fat more efficiently. Okay, so that leaves your strength, and that leaves your building of lean muscle mass. So what that does is, when you build lean muscle mass, and we're not talking about getting hench, we're talking about effectively creating or developing the same volume of muscle. You're just kind of building more muscle fiber filaments in that same kind of circumference or volume. In order to build that lean muscle mass, it's going to raise your basal metabolic rate, which basically means you're going to be burning more calories at rest. So that kind of should be your goal. I would argue that HIIT training isn't the best for doing that, because again, there is such a cardiovascular element of it. It's not particularly anabolic, which basically it doesn't encourage that much in terms of muscle growth. And that is kind of what you want to look for when it comes to building lean muscle mass. So in my opinion, what you should really be focusing on is building strength in the kind of stereotypical idea of it, not necessarily kind of powerlifting, bodybuilding type exercises where you're doing low rep, very high weight efforts. You know, there's very much a middle ground which I think suits endurance athletes. And if you want to know more about strength training, how we would recommend you do it, there is another video where we cover this. So just to cover it in summary, we don't hate HIIT training, just don't necessarily think that it's the best thing to be doing too regularly for an endurance athlete. So please don't shoot me.